Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Joe Green and this is a review of a really useful, inexpensive tool that I use in the studio all the time, the Korg NanoKONTROL 2. So this is a USB mini interfaced MIDI controller, which you can use with any DAW. I use it with Logic Pro, and it's just super useful for having better access to things right there in front of you, rather than clicking around the screen with a mouse when you're trying to listen or indeed record something as well. So if I've got a guitar in my hands, I've just got simple buttons right there in front of me to record and play and pause. So I'm going to do a screencast and we're going to have a look at how it works. There's an issue with the refresh rate on the camera that I'm using, so these lights will kind of flicker, but they are like static lights when you see them in the flash. So yeah, okay, so here we go. Here's the device. Just plug it in via USB mini straight into the Mac. It works on Windows as well, of course, and you can see it's lit up straight away on the controls down here. We've got our Logic project open. So this is a track that I've been doing just with some friends during lockdown, just to cover, but I thought it was a good demonstration as I was mixing it to show how this works. I kind of use it for two different jobs. One is for recording and one is for mixing. So first off, we've got the channel strips along here. There are 8 channel strips, but it doesn't limit you to only controlling 8 channels at a time. It just means that you need to use these track buttons up here to switch to the rest of the channels in the project. This project has about 20 channels, something like that in it, and I can skip around between them. So you'll see in the bottom left of the Logic program in the mixer section, the first 8 tracks, which actually are all red in this case, have a little blue line underneath them, and that shows me that those are the 8 tracks that line up with the 8 channel strips that I've got on this controller. If I was to press this track button to the right, you'll see in Logic that the next 8 tracks get selected. So now tracks 9 to 16 are loaded up onto these channel strips. You'll also see that this R light has come on what will be track 10, and if you look at the Logic program, you can see that that's actually the track that I have selected in Logic itself. If I was to select another track with the mouse, so I select, for example, track 12, you'll see that the light jumps to the 4th channel strip, which is track 12, and that is to indicate that that is the selected track. If I use the R on another track, it will start flashing ready for me to record on that track. Because I've used the same input to record on various tracks in this program, I can't activate more than one track at a time, because I'd be recording the same input in multiple times. But if I had them set up in separate inputs, then I would be able to select multiple inputs to record all at once, and then just hit the record button. To explain what you've got here, you've got your record, your mute, so that just switches on and off just like you'd expect, a toggle, and your solo as well. When you hit the solo button, you will see that the other tracks do get muted automatically, and you can see that, and it reflects in the Logic program as well. Again, you can select obviously multiple solo channels, and that will unmute that one. With the faders here, you've got, and also the pots, which control panning, they don't pick up on the slider until they hit the same matching point as the track that is in your DAW. So what I mean by that is that if this slider is in a completely different place, it won't drag the virtual slider, or fader I should say, until you actually hit the point on the scale where the virtual fader is. This allows you to avoid massive volume jumps all of a sudden when you try to adjust something subtly. So if I jump back to my first 8 tracks, and then I highlight this track just in Logic so you can see what's going on. On this track here, this slider is quite far down, but actually in the virtual track it's quite a long way up, it's at 0. So in order for me to adjust that, if I pull this down now, it doesn't do anything. But if I push it up to the point where it gets to match the 0 point, you'll see that I now have picked up that fader, and now it will allow me to adjust it. That allows you to get subtle control rather than huge jumps when you're first coming to a different track to edit, because obviously you're going to jump around That's not always going to be track 1. Now it's track 9. I might want the fader to be here, but when I go back to track 1, I don't want that to jump right down to there. I just want it to pick up when it gets to that point. Same with the pans. It picks up as soon as it was in the center there. If this track was, which is track 9 now, was panned all the way to the left, and I went back to track 1, I wouldn't want that to pick up the pan right from there and pan it all the way over to the left if I just wanted to make a subtle adjustment just to move the track just a little bit to the right, for example. In this project, I've got bars 2 and 3 highlighted as the cycle area, or the loop area, and there's a button here which allows me to just switch that cycle area on, and you'll see it reflected in Logic straight away. So that cycling allows me to just switch that section on straight away and then start recording just over that looped section, which can be handy, especially if you're trying to record a guitar solo or something. You just want to do multiple takes of it at once and then go back through them and have a listen. Similarly, the markers, you can just set them as you go. So if you're playing a track, you can set markers at any point just by hitting the set command, and then when you stop, you're actually able to jump around all of the markers using the left and right arrows. If I'm recording, then I will obviously use these transport controls to make my life a little bit easier when I'm holding a guitar or sitting in front of the microphone. What's really cool about these is if I want to bring up a chord sheet or a lyric sheet or something, then I don't have to have Logic as the active app. It can sit in the background. I can open up Word, or I can open up a website with guitar tabs on, and I can use those knowing that I can always stop and start the record process without having to bring Logic back to the front and make it the active application. So that's a really handy feature that otherwise I wouldn't be able to do. I find the layout of this device super useful when mixing because I've got 8 tracks accessible to me straight away, and I can jump between the various banks of those 8 tracks really quickly just with the track controls up here. So if I'm mixing, then I'll just play the track, and as we're going through, I'll be able to just adjust everything with really much more tactile, subtle gestures than I would if I was using a mouse in Logic. Obviously I can still use the mouse as well in combinations, so it doesn't stop me from doing any of the previous things I would have done. It just gives me a little bit of finer control over some of those really useful features like the panning and the volume adjust. Okay, so that's about it. This was the NanoKONTROL 2. I hope you found that useful. I only paid about £20 second hand for one of these, but you can pick them up really cheap new as well. They come in a couple of different colours, so this is the white one. They do a black with white highlights on it. I think the LEDs are the same colour on those. And then I think they also do a couple of other custom versions which are multicoloured and maybe have different colour LEDs on them as well. Limited edition runs. Ideally I would have liked to get the black one. It would fit in with all of the other things going on here on my desk, but you know, actually if anything it's easier to see if it's in white. I hope you enjoyed this review and it's given you some ideas for useful tools to pick up if you're doing this kind of stuff at home or in a more professional environment as well. If you did like this video, it would be great if you could give us a like, drop any questions in the comments and I'll try to answer them as best I can, and maybe subscribe to my channel as well, and I'm going to be doing some more videos. So if there's something else that you want to see that's along these lines, maybe bring it up and I'll see what I can do. Thank you very much. See you soon.